Let me introduce you to a couple that might sound a lot like people you know. Meet Alex and Jordan. Alex works in marketing, earning about $65,000 a year. Jordan is in IT, bringing in around $78,000. Together, their household pulls in roughly $143,000 annually. That puts them solidly in the top 20 to 25% of American households by income. On paper, they should be thriving, maxing out 401ks, taking great vacations, feeling financially secure. Instead, they're stressed out, barely making it from paycheck to paycheck, with maybe 2-3 months of expenses saved if they're lucky. Last month, the car needed major repairs and it went straight onto a credit card. Both work full-time, often more, they're exhausted, and during the week they barely see each other except for a few drained hours in the evening. The wildest part? They've done everything right. They got the degrees, built solid careers, got married, combined finances, bought a house in a good school district. They followed the script. So why does it feel like they're sinking? Why does a six-figure household feel so financially fragile? If you've ever stared at your combined income and thought, we make too much to feel this broke, this video is going to connect a lot of dots for you. I'm Bobby, and I spend way too much time wondering why dual-income households today often feel worse off than single-income families from 50 years ago. If you're grinding alongside your partner and still can't figure out why it's never enough, hit subscribe and give this a thumbs up if it resonates. We've all been sold the idea that two incomes are obviously better. It seems like simple math. If one person earning $60,000 can support a family, two people at $60,000 each should cover the same needs and have another $60,000 left for savings, investments, and wealth building. Basic addition, right? Except that's not what happened. What actually unfolded is one of the biggest financial bait and switches in modern American history, and almost no one talks about it. It's called the two-income trap, a term coined by Elizabeth Warren in 2003, back when she was a Harvard bankruptcy law professor, long before the Senate. She and her daughter Amelia studied thousands of families who filed for bankruptcy, and the findings were shocking. Having two incomes didn't make families more secure, it made them more vulnerable. Dual-earner families were actually more likely to go bankrupt than single-income ones. Think about that. Working twice as hard, bringing home two paychecks, doing everything the modern economy says you should, and ending up more likely to lose it all. That's not a personal failure. That's a systemic trap, and chances are you're right in the middle of it. Let's rewind to the 1970s to see why. Back then, about 43% of women were in the workforce. The typical middle-class family had one main breadwinner, usually the husband, and one parent at home, usually the wife. And here's the key most people miss. That single income was genuinely enough, not scraping by, but actually sufficient. Data from the census and BLS shows a median single-income family could afford a median-priced home while spending about 25% of income on housing. Kids went to decent public schools, funding wasn't as uneven, basic health care was affordable, they had a car, food on the table, savings, and even the occasional family vacation. They had breathing room, margin, and crucially, a backup. If the breadwinner got sick or lost their job, the stay-at-home parent could step into the workforce. That second potential income was an insurance policy. Fast forward to today, female labor force participation is around 57% overall, and for married mothers, it's even higher, often 70+% for those with young kids. Dual-income households are now the norm. Over 60% of married couples with children have both parents working. We've turned the emergency backup into the default setting. And get this, according to the latest census data, 2024 to 2025, the median household income is around $83,000 to $84,000. Adjusted for inflation, that's meaningfully higher than in 1970. We're earning more than our parents and grandparents did, but costs have exploded. Median home prices in 1970, inflation adjusted to today's dollars, were roughly $200,000 to $220,000. Now, over $420,000 to $450,000. Housing has more than doubled relative to inflation. Healthcare spending per household has risen dramatically, over 600% since 1970 in real terms. Childcare, barely a line item back then because someone was home, now averages $13,000 to $16,000 per child per year nationally. In high-cost areas, it's $20,000 to $30,000 per kid. College tuition has skyrocketed over 1,000% since the 1980s. Every extra dollar from that second income got absorbed by these ballooning fixed costs. The dual-income family doesn't get double the security of a 1970s single-income family. They get less because their baseline expenses expanded to eat both paychecks, and they burned their backup plan just to stay afloat. You might be thinking, okay, but we're smart with money. We didn't let lifestyle creep eat the second income. Fair enough, maybe you're the exception, but let's run the realistic math on what actually happens to that extra income. Say one partner earns $80,000 and the other $60,000, combined $140,000, which feels solid. Focus on the $60,000 second income. Taxes first, progressive brackets mean the second income gets hit harder, higher marginal rate. Add federal, state, payroll, easily 30 to 35% effective. That $60,000 drops to $38,000 to $42,000 take-home. Kids, average childcare is $14,000 to $16,000 per child. Two kids, $28,000 to $32,000. Half or more of the second income vanishes before you leave the house. Two commutes, gas, maintenance, depreciation, parking, maybe a second car, easily $8,000 to $12,000 a year. Exhaustion factor, less time for cooking and cleaning means more takeout, delivery, cleaners, pre-made meals. Studies show dual-income families spend $5,000 to $10,000 plus annually on convenience services. Added up, from $60,000 minus taxes, $20,000, childcare, $15,000 for one child, commuting, $10,000, convenience, $7,000, you're left with maybe $2,000 to $8,000 net, or less or negative with multiple kids or high COL area. Someone works full-time, misses family time, fights traffic, and the household nets a few bucks a day? It's insane. The psychological trap, the gross combined number looks big, $140,000 on paper, so you feel secure. Banks qualify you for bigger mortgages, nicer cars, based on two incomes. You commit to payments that require both paychecks forever. As long as nothing goes wrong, sickness, layoff, burnout, aging parents, special needs kid, you're fine. But life happens. That's exactly what Warren's research nailed. Single-income families in 1970 had flexibility, a backup earner. Dual-income families today have none. Both incomes are fully committed to the monthly bills. Lose one and the whole structure crumbles. No margin. That's why dual earners were more bankrupt-prone. Not irresponsibility, but zero room for error. A Federal Reserve study around 2019 to 2020s found 40% of Americans can't cover a $400 emergency without borrowing or selling stuff. Many are in dual-income households with decent paper incomes. They're not broke from low earnings. They're broke because expenses expanded to swallow every dollar. And these aren't luxury splurges. They're the housing, childcare, healthcare, education, the basics of middle-class life. Housing is the clearest example of the bidding war effect. When everyone switched to two incomes, purchasing power for the same houses doubled. Prices got bid way up. Now you need two incomes just to afford what one used to buy. Same with good schools, property tax funded. Families bid up houses in strong districts, turning good public education into a $400,000 plus mortgage equivalent. So what do? You can't just tell one partner to quit. You've built a life around both incomes. The mindset shift. Treat your lifestyle like it's built on one income as the foundation. Keep fixed costs, mortgage, cars, basics, comfortable on one salary alone. The second becomes truly discretionary. Savings, investments, debt payoff, or modest upgrades. You could survive, maybe cut back if one income stops without losing the house or going bankrupt. You regain the margin modern families lost. Example, 140,000 combined, 80,000 plus 60,000. Don't take a mortgage that needs 110,000 plus to service. Cap it at what 70 to 80,000 covers comfortably. One or no car payment. A solid but not elite neighborhood or school. Bank the rest. Emergency fund to retirement to taxable investing. In 5 to 10 years, compounding kicks in. That second income builds real wealth and options. One partner can step back for family, career pivot, health issue without crisis. The two-income trap isn't really about income. It's about flexibility, margin, options. Our grandparents had one income, but real resilience, the ability to absorb shocks, shift priorities, focus on family without collapse. We traded that for bigger houses, nicer stuff, and the appearance of success. But appearance isn't wealth. Cash flow isn't security. And two incomes aren't better than one if they're already spent before they hit your account. The families winning today aren't the highest earners. They're the ones who preserved flexibility, refused to let expenses consume everything, and kept their backup in reserve instead of deploying it to keep up. You can earn your way out of many problems, but not a trap.